Why did BTS's mother Jin's tears burst after hearing Echo? What painful secrets are hidden behind these simple lyrics? Is it an old wound that finally opens? When a mother's love collides with a silent scream in a song, the world seems to stop. There is something deeper than just melody, something we may not be ready to hear. Are you ready to explore the hidden wounds behind Jin's smile? Had you ever felt that a song could change everything? That in an instant, a world that had been looking solid could crack just because of one lyric verse? If so, then you might be able to understand a little bit the feelings of BTS's mother Jin, whose cries broke out as soon as Echo filled the room.
But why?
What is really hidden behind those soft tones? And is the world really ready to know the truth? That day, the BTS fandom world, ARMY, never expected that a solo song from Jin entitled Echo could shake many hearts. However, no one expected that the first cry that broke out came precisely from the most important figure in Jin's own life, her mother. Is this just an emotional outburst of pride at the sun? Or is it more subtle, and more subtle? The question began to surface when a source close to the Jin family leaked one little secret that had been neatly hidden. Echo is not just a song, says the source in a quivering voice. Echo is a message that the genie can never say in words. Echo is a silent scream that he has been latent. Silent scream? For what? For who? Many began to associate the lyrics in Echo with Jin's childhood, which was rarely discussed in the media. Although the world knows him as a cheerful man, full of laughter and charm, not many know that behind all that, there are childhood memories that are not as beautiful as imagined. Little Seokjin often stares out the window at night, the source continued. He always asked why his father was rarely at home. She often asked why her mother always looked sad when she slept. But he is too small to understand. Is Echo a love letter as well as a letter of apology? Is that the way Jin conveyed something that had been settling in silence? When the music started playing in the first showcase of the song, the atmosphere in the room changed drastically. Jin stood alone on a small stage, accompanied only by an acoustic guitar and a beam of light. No dancing, no effect, only sound, just a cut, just honesty. And when the genie's voice began to sing the first verse, an odd silence descended. The guests, staff, even other BTS members who were present, all fell silent.
No whispers.
No movement. Just a blank stare to the stage, as if every word from the genie was a small knife piercing through their defensive skin. But the most surprising sight is on the right side of the room. Jin's mother, who is usually always tough and smiled proudly, began to sob. Not just tears, but really tears. His body shook. His eyes were red. And for a moment, even the singing genie seemed to lose her voice before finally forcing herself to continue the song. What made him cry so hard? Many suspect there's one part in the lyrics of Echo that immediately pierced the heart of the mother. The passage reads, "When I ran, thinking you didn't see me, I forgot. Your voice still resonates within me." That sentence, as if to say that even though Jin grew up, left, became a world superstar, her mother's voice, her fears, sorrows, prayers remained in her, resonating, becoming part of who she is today. This a statement that Jin actually always knew the pain her mother was hiding? Is this the way the genie says, "I understand now, mother"? The deeper people dive into the lyrics of Echo, the more wounds open up. The ARMY began to dissect every stanza, every note, looking for hidden meanings. Some even theorize that this song is a form of recognition that Jin once felt lonely despite being surrounded by love. And here's the most surprising part. A person claiming to be Jin's childhood friend revealed a story that stunned the entire fandom. Little Seokjin, he said, often talks to himself. He likes to whisper in the mirror. It was as if he was trying to reflect his voice, looking for answers within himself. Looking for answers? For what? Many are beginning to realize that Echo is not just about longing. It's about the inability to speak, about guilt, about the desire to express something that was too heavy to say then Is it about disappointment? About losing? About the guilt of leaving home to pursue a dream, while knowing there are people who remain waiting in silence. Currently, fans around the world are buzzing about whether Echo is actually Jin's farewell letter before his mandatory military service. Is this a form of apology? Or perhaps a promise that no matter how far she goes, her voice, her heart, will always return home? Even more slicing, some ARMY found that there was a hidden lyric section that only sounded on the live showcase, not on the studio version. A barely audible whisper at the end of the song. "Mom, I hear you." The sentence, short, low, almost swallowed by the music, but for those who heard it, the effect was like an emotional explosion. It was as if all defenses collapsed, leaving behind only pain, love, and longing. Why didn't Jin include that whisper in the official version? Is it because it's too personal? Too painful? Now, the world is grappling with unanswered questions. Was Echo part of Jin's confession of his childhood wounds? Did Jin's mother cry because of the guilt she had been carrying? Or is it because they are too proud to admit it? Furthermore, do we all know Jin all this time? Does the man known to be full of laughter actually keep a sea of sadness behind his eyes? One thing is certain. After Echo, no one will ever again be able to see the genie in the same way. The song has opened up something that has been hidden for so long. An echo from the past is finally heard. Loud, honest, and heartbreaking. And perhaps that's music's greatest miracle, its ability to express things that even words can't explain. One question that now hangs in the air, heavy and unanswered. How many of us still hear the echo of the voice of our loved ones, even when we think we've forgotten? After the showcase was over, many thought the story was over. But as it turned out, that was just the beginning of a much deeper wave of emotions. That night, when the guests came home one by one and the studio lights began to dim, someone found a small envelope behind the piano in which Jin was singing. The envelope was thin, pale cream in color, and on the front was written only one word in trembling handwriting: Yama. Mom. Is this Jin's secret letter to his mother? Is this part of the show? Or is there something deeper, something that was never meant to be discovered by anyone other than the recipient? One of the staffers who accidentally found it testified, "We originally thought it was stage property, but after reading it, we all froze. None of us could speak." According to leaks circulating, the contents of the letter are a mixture of confession, apology, and unconditional love. However, what makes the letter really break the heart of anyone who reads it is its last sentence. "I'm sorry for always running too far, even when I know you're still waiting for me at the door." That sentence, simple, but carrying the weight of years of feelings that were never expressed. What does it feel like to be a mother waiting for her child to come back, while the world continues to celebrate her son who can no longer come home often? And this is where the big question arises. Why did the genie choose to convey all this through songs and letters, rather than directly through words? Is it so hard for him to express that guilt? Are there wounds that are too deep, too frozen, that only music can melt them? One family psychologist interviewed by a Korean media tried to explain, often, people who hold on to guilt for too long choose to channel it through art. Ordinary words feel too fragile. Two is not enough. Is this what happened to Jin? As the world began to put together the pieces of this puzzle, another surprise came. An old friend of the Kim family, who asked to remain anonymous, divulged that Jin had actually been writing Echo for more than 4 years. Not a song written overnight, or in a single moment of lightning inspiration. But it's a slow, painful work, assembled from tiny fragments of guilt and love that's never really finished. Every time Seokjin came home, the source said, he would sit at that old piano. He never really finished the song, until one day, he woke up early, wrote something for hours, and then said, "Now I'm ready." Ready for what? To reveal all that he had buried? Or to say goodbye, emotionally, before he has to disappear into a quieter world? Conscription. One of the most controversial parts of Echo was Jin's choice not to clarify the meaning of the song in the media. When asked in an interview about the meaning of echo, Jin only smiled slightly and said, "Everyone has their own echo. Find your own echo." Does this mean that he wants everyone to find their own wound in his song? Or maybe he was too afraid to tell the truth, knowing that admitting it would open wounds that even he himself wasn't sure he could close again. Now, the song is no longer just about Jin's voice. Echo has become the voice of all children who have ever felt guilty about leaving home. All mothers who have ever cried silently in the middle of the night. All those families who have ever lost the words to say, "I love you" before it's too late. Is it possible? That echo is also Jin's apology to himself. Some of the more sensitive soldiers began to note one thing that barely escaped. In the entire showcase, Jin did not once mention the word love. Not in the song, not in his short speech. Just a cut.
J